Well, build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Longbangers Week at Hibs, sponsored by Leith Spirits. I'm Matty.
Good evening. I'm Colin.
All right. I'm John.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Hey, how are you doing?
All right. All right.
I've got a cough. And I was told, or I inferred, that you'd been telling folk that I had the shits earlier in the week. Is that correct?
Dysentery, I think we went with.
Dysentery.
I think we landed on dysentery, John. And I believe a lingering cough is one of the symptoms. Like after the shits and that have finished, the cough persists. So,
it's an old in-joke that he might listen. I don't know if he listens. A boy we were at school with. That was the rumour where he was at school for a couple of months. I don't know what it actually was. Maybe glandular fever or something.
Aye, probably something like
that. Wow. Somebody said, "Oh, it felt like that." I don't know. Maybe not.
A week.
And he's one of his best mates made up that he had dysentery. I never believed it. Just believed it.
As you do.
It's funny how rumours like that stick at school. Like the one I thought that the death knell for any classmate was you shagged a dog. That always seemed to be like the end of your social life at school.
Do you watch Brassic? On the Sky show, whatever the channel's called, Sky Max. That's what they call it now. Brassic. It's good. It's worth a watch. That's a boy in that follows him round for the rest of his days because one of them made up that he shagged a dog at school.
Amazing.
And it still gets cast up at him in his 30s. It's good. It's decent. That's like light fun. Just recommendation. Didn't need to concentrate too much on it. It's just daft, but it's funny.
Talking about it, this wasn't quite so light fun. We watched. We will talk about Hibs in a second. I'll just skip past this bit quickly. If you want to fast forward by 15 seconds to get to the film, we watched...
that option is available on all our platforms.
It was on Netflix. It was something like Escaping the Twin Flame or something like that, right? And it's about this couple in America, obviously, right? Who basically sell that they can give you eternal love, right? And this like sort of perfect life. And they get folk to pay them so they can coach them to do it, and then the folk become coaches. It's like a big MLM, multi-level marketing scheme thing as well, right? But with nothing, you didn't get anything at the end of it. But it's fucking wild what they got the folk who bought into it to believe and to do. And like, I'll no spoil it, right? But you're sitting going, fuck, would anybody just accept that as something that was all right? But there was one woman who she ends up going to jail. She gets to tell this guy's her true flame. I think that's what they call them, right? Twin flame, right? Jane shouted, just give me the right answer. Twin flame, and they say that's who yours is, and they just tell them, and you just have to work at it, and it'll happen. So this woman's like obsessing about this guy. He's like, I'm not interested. It's just like they're like, you just need to try harder because we're definitely right. And so she keeps going. And eventually the guy's got a fucking restraining order and she goes to jail. She just fucking ignores the restraining order because they're telling her, you just have to try harder, it's your fault. You didn't worry about the restraining order. That's no God's will. Just keep going. She gets out of jail, she goes back in it. And you're like, it's fucking bonkers. Anyway, we'd recommend it. You watch it and you're going, they keep showing the boy's Facebook. And I was sitting going, I'm going to message this cunt. I never. Right, but I was like, that was why I never did it. I'm too gullible.
Selling his shite, following somebody about the streets.
Right, so watch that. It blows your mind. Like you kind of sit just going, "Fuck hell, these poor people." Anyway, right, Colin, you want to kick us off? What have you got for us this week?
Well, I just thought it's a quiet week because they're on a jolly up in Dubai. So why do we not just talk about Dubai then? We spoke about it last week, obviously, with the sort of outrage, I suppose, at the time about how much it's costing Greenest Club and did they deserve it and all the other stuff that was all wrapped up. But I think I seen that Monty was saying it's not that dear, and also just other stuff there about the players returning and players like Megwa and that being taken away for injury. Just what's your thoughts on the value of it and the importance of it, I suppose, with those guys being reintroduced?
John, you want to come in first?
I suppose the big talking point is about Megawa because I think part of what's happened this week is it's been confirmed that he's not being recalled, but he has also gone out to Dubai. So
Oh, right. Oh, so he's not been recalled. Right.
I
How did he get away with
correct me
that?
if I'm wrong. I thought I'd read that.
I
You're
don't know, mate.
you're right. You're right, John. That he's been taken to the training camp to be, in inverted commas, assessed by Nick Montgomery. That's how it was reported. So he'll miss one game minimum um, for Airdrie. And I guess that if Hibs want to then having assessed him, keep him for the rest of the season, then that'll be that. They'll just recall them at that point. But as things
Right.
stand, he will go back to Airdrie.
Okay. So
So you were
there was
right,
a
John.
wee bit more finer detail there that I wasn't aware of.
That's interesting. I didn't know.
So
I just
I
assumed he'd been
guess
recalled.
I suppose what I was going to ask on the back of that was, do you think that Nick Montgomery will get a better assessment of the player watching him training and having bounce games for Hibs, presumably like we're playing Servette, I think, tomorrow, and I think there's another one lined up, than he would say watching video footage of him playing for Airdrie?
I think it'll supplement it or complement it, however you want to word it. Like having the ability to do both, like watch the video, but then see him in person and see how he gets on with the group and how he trains is probably going to be really valuable for him.
Aye, because I guess that, yeah, I think he's probably seen enough to pique his interest, pique his interest, whatever one it is. And that's enough to get him over there. But they'll be thinking, it's like any sport at any level, any age group and all that. If you can see somebody playing and they could be ripping it up, but actually they're playing against a lot of shite. And I'm not saying the championship is, because the championship's not a bad league, but it's not your level. So you bring them in and play them against players that are the level that are in the Premier League, a mid to fourth to sixth place Premier League team. See they're training with them, and see if he is off that, because it'll just be a bit quicker, a bit sharper. You would like to think it should be. So I think that's how I would be seeing it. He's seen the videos. I read somewhere. I can't remember where I read it, but he only played his first game for Airdrie in October, and he's already had 2 players of the month since he went there. So he's effectively 2 to 3 months he's been playing.
Is it something like 13 starts and 14 appearances? So that's pretty good.
He is one that when players are asked about who's coming through, I think it was down the slope that it with Joe Newell, and he called out Megwa.
And Miller done it as well, I think, on the Ramble.
Oh, that's maybe what I'm thinking of, actually. Or maybe it was both of them. Apologies if I've got that wrong to both podcasts. So it is. I think it's good news for Megwa, at least, because there was a bit of chat on the message boards that Megwa thought that Montgomery maybe didn't fancy him. So this maybe gives them that wee bit of reassurance that we're prepared to take him out of competitive football to come in and join with the group and go over there. Colin, you mentioned it as well, seeing some of the players back. So Cadden's been photographed, being involved with the training. Lafondre's been there. Obviously, McCurdy, Doyle Hayes. I don't know if it's better that it's hot weather, whether it makes your recuperation more effective. But how big a boost do you think it will be, John, to have these boys back for the rest of the season? Presumably they're close.
Well, I think it wasn't exactly a question, but when you were saying about like doing your recuperation in warm weather, like I would far rather be running about and doing stretches when it's 25 degrees than it being, well, whatever it is just now, like 3 degrees. With colder weather on the way. With regards to the players coming back, like we've talked about it frequently, like in the last few weeks and maybe even months, that we're just missing bodies, like missing options. Like we talked about, like how Lafondre, his absence is kind of forcing Venti to play a slightly different way. Other options like McCurdy coming back, like it offers versatility. And actually, there was a comment on, oh God, I might be misremembering this, but what he said, it was down the slope when they were talking about transfers, and it was about not losing quality when you bring players on. So you're kind of like at the still level, or if not better. So I think that's the position that we're kind of looking for.
The competition for places is a benefit, Colin. What difference do you think that will make for the players who maybe settled into not having to fight for their place in the team now.
Well, it can only if you know you're playing, no matter with certain exceptions, the likes of Roy Keane and all that, these boys that are just totally driven. I don't think you can help being complacent. Knowing that you're playing next week, if you make a mistake, you can make a mistake. Whereas if you know that there's somebody on your heels, then it just drives you on. It's got to, even like, I'm not saying that anybody's doing it deliberately and they're not trying as hard or anything. It's just that subconscious. I think, I believe. But if you know you're playing, you're as switched on as you would be. Wait, obviously some exceptions. But I don't know if anybody at Hibs has got that. I think that's the elite boys that'll do it no matter what. And we've not got that. So I think it's only a benefit.
A fire in the belly kind of
determination
to be elite no matter what. Yeah.
Be on Jake Humphrey's podcast. That's the boys. They're kind.
The boys that get up at 4 a.m. to tell everybody what they've done.
Cold shower.
We've got the same 24 hours as everybody else. How much can you get done? Fuck off, right? Okay, folk underestimate how good sleeping is. I always think when you see the folk that are getting up at fucking 4 a.m. to X, Y, and Z, you think, fuck, if I lie, mate, you'll love it. It's good.
Have a phone in sick, go back to bed, play Xbox, order food in, stay in your bed.
It'll do you good. That's it.
I did a day like that between Christmas and New Year. No, the week before Christmas, because I was off the week before. Everybody was at school and work and that. And we had went out for drinks on the Monday. I didn't get out of my bed till, I think, 3 o'clock on the Tuesday. I was awake, but I just stayed in my bed, got up.
Not even for a peer, that?
Well, but I've got
have you gone on?
I need to leave the
room. Right, John, what have you got for us?
So the one that I wanted to to talk about was the Patrick McPartlin article. Monty and Hibs need big January to kickstart the season. So we've in the past we've talked about like the next 5 games or the next 6 games, and we've kind of talked about predictions of like the number of points that we're going to get. And I wanted to try and delve into what big January might mean, and I think it'll tie in with what you were going to talk about, Matty. So Hibs play basically in the space of a week. Forfar, Rangers, Kilmarnock. Assuming that they were all league games and it was all 3 points up for grabs, what do you think we're getting from it, and how would you feel if, I don't know, say you looked at it and said like 7 points? How would you feel if it was to come in less, if it wasn't to meet the expectations of a big January?
That's a good question. So even if you wanted to slightly reposition it, so get through the cup, and then we're talking about 4 points for the 2 games. Is that what a big chance? So a draw against Rangers, presumably, and then beat Kelly. Yeah. I reckon the likely, right? Realistically, 3 points against Kelly and through in the cup. I don't think you would have.
Kelly will be away.
Kelly's away.
Yeah.
We're at home to Rangers. I don't think we'll take anything for the Rangers game. At the moment, as things stand, I don't see it. I think we've struggled against Rangers in recent times. Like, I can't remember when was the last good result we had against them.
The Slivka volley, maybe?
Well, was it the 2-2 when they went down to 9 men?
Yep.
Started last season.
And
was that when Josh Campbell scored the equaliser late on?
Have we had another draw since then? We've not beat them. Anyway, unless I'm doing us a massive disservice and forgetting. So Rangers of late have had our number. Kelly's not a given either, though. Like, we're shite at Rugby Park, and it's a shite ground. The question you asked, John, about how would you feel if it's not a big January? Was that the right question that you...
Yeah, well, I suppose what I would say, if I were to rephrase the question maybe, is what would you say is a big January? And if we don't meet that, how would you feel?
Well, I think that's the minimum he needs to get. So it's through in the cup and 3 points out of the 2 games. Because of where we are in the league, I don't think we can afford to be dropping much more points against teams that we should be beating. Should in inverted commas, like Kilmarnock are a team who spend significantly less than us if we want to have ambitions of finishing third or fourth. They're a team that we would expect to be below us. So we're going to have to start winning these games. We've drawn loads of them and lost a couple of silly ones. So that for me is like the bare minimum. I think if we don't do that,
And they're direct competition really for where we are at the moment as well. They're in the same spots or round about. So we need to be beating Kelly. It would be brilliant if we could pick points up against Rangers, but see if we then go and lose. See, we beat Rangers, right, and then we go and lose to Kelly. We're actually better beating Kelly.
Aye.
For terms of the league, because it's more of a 6-pointer.
I think you're right, because looking at the table just now, like we've got 2 games in hand over St Mirren, Kilmarnock, and Hearts have got 1 in front of us as well. And it's the way that I look at the league sometimes, and other people perhaps do it as well, but we're on 25 points, Kilmarnock are on 31. And if you can make up that 3-point difference, suddenly they're looking behind them, and you're looking ahead and looking to overtake them and getting yourself that bit of momentum. So I don't disagree about your assessment of what a big January would be.
and it'll not be enough to go unbeaten in it. Do you know, like if he does 2 draws, like a draw against Rangers, draw against Kelly, is no good either. Like he has to win against Kelly. You're almost sort of pegging that as one of our first must-win games this year. I can't say first.
It's actually why he's under. You're right though. It's actually why he's under a bit of pressure, and we're feeling maybe as shit as we are, because we threw when we were talking about his unbeaten run and all that. But there was a load of draws in there in games we should have won. There was hardly any draws where you go, "Oh, that was a good point." They were all shit points. Is that a ball to win? That's straight
for the ball.
It's
superb.
It's like a glass that's left. I couldn't be asked getting a glass dirty, so I'm just drinking out the bottle. I'm not an alky, I promise.
Amazing.
But this is also a reason why I've got dysentery.
Aye, exactly. You've got it off the neck of the ball. But no, there was a lot of shit points when it should have been.
Did you have an idea when you were talking there? I heard there's two ideas.
But yeah, I've just muted that. But no, that was the that's why we've done a couple of draws into wins, and we're probably sitting no kicking ourselves third, even with that shit result at Christmas.
So if we could maybe I feel like I'm maybe stealing Matty's thunder a wee bit here, but I know that you're going to talk about the Brian McDermott piece. But there was a line in the McDermott piece where he talked about Montgomery being a young manager and him being a more senior head. And I wondered what you thought, like if, for example, Hibs don't have a big January, how important is Brian McDermott's role in kind of keeping the flack or kind of like shielding Montgomery away from some of the shit that goes on behind the scenes and just lets him concentrate on his role?
It was an interesting one. So that was what I was going to kind of pick up on. Was I think he was talking to BBC. It was like BBC Bristol. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Where it was Radio Berkshire. He was explaining what he was doing at Hibs and a bit about his time at Reading, which I suppose by talking to them down there. Is shielding the manager. So I took it from not so much for shielding the manager about the noise that would come with bad results, but just for like the other kind of shit jobs that a football manager would maybe have to get his or her hands dirty with. It was really interesting. So he says, I've got the utmost faith in the manager. He's a really good young manager coming through. And then he says, I watch what he does. His training is really good. It's methodical. The detail is absolutely incredible what these guys do. So my role was probably what most clubs need, an older figure or experienced figure who can keep the other stuff away from the coach and manager, deal with the stuff the manager doesn't need to deal with. I kind of thought, what stuff is he referring to there? Because he also talks about telling... he says, all I say to Nick is, look, do the best you can to work with the players you have. Get us a result on Saturday, the best result you can, and then we'll move on to the next game. You're always going to get a result. You're always going to get a result.
I'd love that job.
You want a positive result, though. And I didn't know whether that gave us a bit of an insight into how involved is Montgomery in the transfer activity? Is one question. Right? Now, I can't remember where I picked up. Somebody had referenced Montgomery wanting to interview all the players that are potentially signing for us, so make sure they're a good fit for the club. Now, I would imagine that happens to some degree with every club and every manager. They'll sit and have a conversation with somebody before they sign. But I don't know whether it's an interview or whether it's right, John, I want you to sign for my team. This is where I'm going to play you in the midfield. I think that's your best position, and I think if you come and work for me in 20 games' time, you'll have a Scotland cap. And that's the conversation they have, or whether they sit down and go, "Hey, Colin, you've got the opportunity to come to Hibs. Tell me why I should fucking sign you." Which is like you're an interview if you're ever going to a job.
Tell me if a time when a defender was stopping you scoring goals.
I was going to suggest, like, well, I guess because we've all been in a similar environment, like, do you think a football manager would hold a competency-based interview with a prospective signing?
The football player trying to get through in the star method and that. Well, there was this time, it was a big, good centre half. He was an international, and it was a really hard game. It was a cold, wet Wednesday in Brecon.
But it's interesting. Actually, I like the idea because a lot of the things that McDermott was talking about was around the culture and getting the behaviours right in the club, right? So get a good culture, people wanting to be part of a team and doing the right things. And I think he's talked about that sort of values approach before, that he'd rather have character than ability in the team. So I think that's a positive. And absolutely, you want to be kind of making sure the culture is right. But again, I thought I still didn't come away with a sort of clear idea of what Ryan McDermott's role is. Like it's specifically.
When you said that, I was wondering, I assumed there he was managing the whole like scouting area, like looking after all that, and saying to him, right, coach them, get a result on Saturday, and we'll move on to the next one. I've got this shit on the go here. You still need the right back. You obviously need the right back. We'll get a right back. We'll come to you with a list, and then you can interview them. You know, like all that stuff, contracts. You want Deutsch to re-sign. He's out of contract at the end of the season. You know, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I guess that's all. Do we need any more mannequins ordered in for training? Are you practicing free kicks? Because we've not really got anybody to take one, have we? So do we need to buy mannequins? Do we know? You know, that kind of stuff.
But the other thing that caught my eye with it as well, and it maybe ties into what we've been talking about, is about the detail. So the detail is absolutely incredible what these guys do, and the players have mentioned that since Montgomery came in as well, about how prepared he is for the sessions and the level of detail that they go into. But if you remember, one of the things that we hypothesized was that the reason that we weren't attacking as well as we were used to when he first came in was that it's too deliberate and too coached. It's too likely I need to put my foot on the ball here and figure out what I'm doing next. What did I do in training? They've not got that level of intuition yet. And I wonder if that's like if you've got Brian McDermott, who was an experienced manager in his own right at a high level, like I'd read in the Premier League, I think. So you would imagine he kens what he's doing. So if he's blown away by it, then you know that gives you an idea of the step up from maybe what the players have been used to with maybe previous managers. And I don't know if that's always a good thing, at least initially.
I wonder, one of the things that was said about Heckingbottom was his attention to detail was also exceptional. And it was one of the big, you know, I think one of the quotes for one of the players was that he didn't succeed at Hibs for lack of detail.
Yeah.
Or words to that effect. But I wonder what could make the difference between, say, a detailed and or a detail-focused manager in training sessions. Sorry, let me see if I can rephrase this. I wonder what makes the difference between a detail-focused manager who succeeds and the one that fails. Because we've already seen one that's failed at Easter Road. What could be the difference, do you think, that would see Montgomery succeed?
Well, for me, it's time. It's more than one because Maloney was the same. So you Maloney.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And the interesting thing with Heckingbottom, and there are parallels with Montgomery in that Heckingbottom started very well, and then we almost got worse the longer that he was there. to the point that he eventually kind of lost his job. And you remember we said that with any manager, has a new manager bounce and then players revert, right?
Heckenbach got the new manager bounce, and then I think his record after the split wasn't great, and then it just like fell away at the start of the season. It just never got going.
But we looked, there were similar traits to that team to what we've seen recently with Montgomery's team and with Maloney's team, and that we just never really kind of like looked that fluent. We just looked like we were trying to think too much about what we were doing. What do you think about it, Colin?
About what?
Just about just what we were talking about the last few minutes. Do you want a wee recap?
Oh, well, that's the thing, because it is quite similar to. Is it quite similar to Maloney? I feel like we maybe have more chances than that. And it is like it's the modern way, isn't it? It's like that is modern coaching. That's what they do. They knock it out for the but Hearts were playing almost the same fucking style as us the other week. It's what they do, right? Because Naismith's just learning and he's just getting his badges, so that's what they'll be teaching him when he's doing his fucking B license and all that. And it's just knock it out. Get your centre halves out wide, fucking goalie knocks a bit, and it's all prescriptive and done. So you've just got to be better at it than somebody else. It's no innovative or fucking creative or anything. It's just be better than the other team. Be quicker.
I think the time and practice is what they need. Like what they need to do is they need to get them away for a fucking like a bespoke training camp somewhere. Get somewhere hot. Take them away for like a week or so. When we get a wee break from the football, take them away somewhere hot. Spend a wee bit of money on it. Get them doing the training in bed. Not too much. Fly as economically as you can. Keep it green.
But come on, if we've not been doing it though at East, mate, and seriously, right, that's funny, good, right? But see, HTC in that. Do we not practice it there? Like, we must be practicing. I just think I've come back to the point is I'm fine with the style of play. If we had better players, we would actually quite like it because we would be beating the press and fucking knocking it through the thirds and all that other fucking shite that you hear folk talking about. But actually, what that means is it's actually quite good to watch.
Aye.
And that's what I want to see. Whether it's fucking beating the press or knocking it through the thirds, it's actually just decent football to watch. It's just no decent enough because we're not very fucking good at it. And I don't think it's maybe because they've not practiced enough at it. I think it's just because the players aren't good enough for it.
Okay, well, it is. And I hate to go back to an old conversation, but let's try to take it in the wind now. East Main, see if we had a big fucking indoor pitch. They could be fucking.
Make all the difference.
Aye.
But then what would they do on a Saturday when it's fucking windy?
Can we
I'm not used to this.
Can we claim that it's too windy at East Mains? Like we downplay Livingston's victories at Albion Vale because they've got a plastic pitch. Like I would love that. It was just a bad week. It was right windy. Couldn't be trained properly.
This is another reason not to win.
That's exactly it.
Do you know what? It's an interesting thing. I kind of conscious that I might have done Brian McDermott like a bit of discredit, and I honestly was really kind of intending that. I think it's just like kind of to be aspects of the article or his interview that caught my eye and just related to conversations that we'd had already.
And we should give him the opportunity if he wants to defend himself. He can come on and talk to us.
It's not about defending. I'm not criticising him at all. Like it's no.
No, well, we don't know. It's just the way that's said, though. It's like, well, what does that mean? Like, what does it mean?
That's it. Words. It just brought up a few more questions than it gave answers. But I think the encouraging thing there is you've got somebody who obviously knows the game, has coached himself at a high level that's impressed with what we've got in the door and our own manager. There is some rumours just before we sign off. We've only got like a minute or so left. There was a bit of chat that today was going to be the day that, and today being Thursday, that Bill Foley's investment was going to get sort of ratified or signed off, or however you want to put it, by the SFA, and actually nothing happened today. So I don't think we're any further forward. However, he was in. Foley himself was interviewed this week talking about Oscar. Can anybody remember the guy's surname?
No.
The player that was linked. I think his first name is Oscar, and I cannot remember.
South American guy.
Yeah. Ecuadorian.
It wasn't Rodriguez or something, was it?
Oh, it was something like that. something like that. Anyway, so Foley's words, and I'll paraphrase just for the benefit of saving a wee bit of time on it because we've got 10 seconds. We're going to overrun slightly. He says that they've got an exciting South American talent that they're looking to sign. They'll spend a bit of money and they'll put them out on loan. It could be that they go to Auckland, who are not up and running yet, or Hibs, he specifically named us, or maybe Lorient. He said it better than I did. And he says they'll go through that, and then Bournemouth will get a ready-made player for the Premier League at 22. Is how he sort of, and I thought that was like a really good idea of what this setup is going to look like for us. Is effectively a club with a tie into Bournemouth. Now, Man United apparently are after this guy, and I'm not sure. I was talking to my son about it earlier. He says I'm not sure that's a good thing, Dad, given how Man United are these days. But if you've got a player that Man United are after, they're looking at spending between 5 and 6 million quid on him. He would instantly become the most expensive player that Hibs have had in the team, with the caveat that Scott Brown left Hibs and would have sold for more after that. John McGinn a lot more than that. John McGinn, probably when you think about the market value, if he was moving from a different club than Hibs, when we sold him, would have went for more than the.
It wasn't that here. That was another value over here, though, and that's what his value this year would be.
Correct. So we were getting a player in whose value is, or long-term value is obviously estimated a lot higher than that, but to get a £5 million player or £6 million player to come in, if we get a couple of them in, we're competing, I think, with the best teams in the league, because they should be at a level that's head and shoulders above Livingston, Kelly.
And then hopefully they drag the others that have got the capability up to a higher level as well, whether it be their level, but a higher level.
Yeah.
They're better players who are the best players now, are not going to be the best player, but so they'll be wanting to impress them. But the biggest thing I took for that was that he mentioned Hibs, as it's almost a done deal, rather than actually take the player out of it and the value of the player and all that. But it was almost like it was done. That was more the way, or you wouldn't have done that.
He calls it a sister club, is what he said, and not a feeder club or anything like that. It was a sister club, and he name checked us, like you say, Colin, as if it was a fait accompli.
That's more important, I think, than
the French team
actual individual. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So interesting. No real news on it other than that sort of snippet and a wee insight into what's potentially going to look like. And if he wants to fire a couple of players that way or our way, by all means do it. I say I'm all up for that. I think we mentioned it before. He did it last in the summer. They signed a player for £12.5 million and then loaned them straight to Lorient. So a couple of £12 million players in the team like that.
And I think we've maybe covered it before, but we know there's work permit reasons and all that, and that, or they might be coming to Scotland instead of France. But are France at Lorient? Are they above us in the pecking order here? Did they get the £10 million players? We get the £5 million players?
I don't know. I don't know how long it will last either, because they're struggling. Which is the other thing. It's not like it's going to be this unqualified success. There, so they might drop out of that league altogether, which would I imagine be good news for us, because they'll go, no, I'm playing fucking second division football, get them to the top flight in Scotland. Send them our way. Right, we're out of time. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you're getting this a week late, you can get it a week earlier than you've got it if you either subscribe via Hubwave or Patreon, or you can now do it on YouTube as well. So if you go to YouTube, there will be a wee join button somewhere. If you're on Android, I think it comes up when you visit our channel page. If not, look for the link in one of our videos, and you'll get the subscriber content as and when it comes out to subscribers, so they get it first. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee.